Happy Monday. It's like 8:45. It's a little bit late. I've said it in other videos that are formatted like this, like more vlog style when I filmed on a Monday. I don't like pushing myself too hard on Mondays. Also, today it is so gloomy. It's been raining for like 3 or 4 days. So the vibes are just very like cozy. But I do have a new client in half an hour. So I'm like, I should probably get my shit together. But anyway, today we're going to talk all about planes of motion. It's something that I've discussed before, but today I want to specifically talk about what are your planes of motion, why we should train all 3 of them, but then also when does it become too much? So first, let's simply talk about what are planes of motion. Really simple. Planes of motions are just different directions we can move the body in relative to the space around us. And we have 3 of them. So the first one is the sagittal plane. This is moving up, down, and front to back. And I would say that this is the most common or most traditional way that most exercises move, or the most common plane of motion. We think about a squat, a push-up, an overhead press, a lunge. All of these are either up, down, or front to back. The next plane of motion is frontal plane, or moving side to side. I would say we probably see the least number of exercises or like traditional movement happen in this plane of motion, but this is going to be things like lateral lunges, lateral bounds, lateral raises, anything with the word lateral in it. And that's why a lot of times you hear people refer to this as the lateral plane rather than frontal plane, because it's just less confusing. And then finally, we have the transverse plane, or twisting. I think we actually see like a solid number of exercises happen within this plane of motion. You've got like Russian twists, a lift and chop, rotational slam. Unfortunately though, I do find that most people don't rotate very well. A lot of rotation you end up seeing comes from the lumbar spine or the low back, and the lumbar spine is not meant to twist in that manner. Lumbar spine is meant to be your support system. The twisting that you want to focus on is more from the thoracic spine, or even from like the hips or the shoulders. Like, there's actually a lot of different ways that our body can introduce rotation. I'm going to stay away from lumbar spine. And look, I'm not going to sit here and be like, you should never twist or bend or flex from the lumbar spine. That's silly, because you will inevitably do those things in your life. But like when you're doing it consistently in your training, I think it's silly, because I don't think that the risk is worth the reward. And I also think that the reward people think that they're getting, which is probably like let's take Russian twist, for example. And you see so many people twisting from the low back. They think that they're doing it right, and they think that they're like targeting the obliques, when really there's 10,000 better exercises that I could give you for Russian twist that don't incorporate twisting of the lumbar spine. I don't even think it's necessarily an argument of like, never do this, because remember that anything can lead to injury over time. I think it more so comes down to like, why are you even choosing an exercise? And then is it the best option to get that result? So we're going to keep on moving. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about like why we should train all of these planes of motion, aka like when do you see these things in daily life? Because remember, we're looking at this from the point of function. We're going to move on with the rest of the day. Pretty light day. Like I said, virtual client. I have to edit a video, which I meant to start doing this morning, but I woke up late and I was really lazy about it. Then I'm going to take a workout class. I have to go for a run. We'll talk about that. I know everyone's probably like, why are you running? I hate running. No, I'm reframing my mindset. We'll talk about it later. I have a ton of errands to run, which I think will be fun to take you guys along. I've been putting that off for a week and a half. I got to teach my cardio class, and then I have a client at like 7 p.m. Anyway, let's keep on moving. We got a new client. I'm so excited. Yay!
In my bankroll, why you running away from me? I don't know.
Look at what I made yesterday. I made this like oatmeal blueberry breakfast bake thing. Who am I? So as I figure out how to reheat this, we're going to talk about why we should be training in all planes of motion. 30 seconds. So let's talk a little bit about the why here, right? Obviously, we want to train in all planes of motion because we move that way in daily life. So I just want to give you like a little food for thought. and some examples. So again, the sagittal plane moving up and down front to back. I do think that there's a reason why most exercises occur in this plane, and it's because we do actually move this way for the most part in our current lives. Sitting to standing, walking, running, opening a car door, putting the dishes away up overhead. All of these are really common daily tasks. And I do think that that's why naturally most exercises occur in the sagittal plane. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But it doesn't mean that we should neglect the other planes of motion, because we do also see those. So if we're thinking about the frontal plane, again, that's our side to side motion. I feel like you see this more in like all of a sudden motions or like sporadic motions, like sidestepping over a curb, jumping out of the way of something, like reaching over to pick up a bag that's next to you, like all of the things that aren't super traditional or like planned out, I guess. And that's why I think it's also so important to train this plane, because a lot of times it does occur in movement patterns that take us by surprise, right? Zoe is sniffing the tripod. Hey, Queen, what's up, girl? You wanna come up here and hang? What do you think? Come here, Zoe. Now, I also especially think this plane of motion is very important if you play a sport, if you dance, because if we think about so many of these things that we're doing, it's so many direction changes, right? Front, back, side to side, twisting, which we're gonna talk about in a second. So if you do anything like pretty physical, I think that the frontal plane, you definitely need to spend some time there in every single workout. And then finally, we've got the transverse plane. So again, this is our twisting. So if we think about examples, turning around, rolling over in bed, lifting something up and putting it over here, like, you know, there's a thousand different ways to twist, and there's a thousand different examples that we could think about. So not only is twisting very common in daily life, or rotating, it's also a way where you can really start to connect muscle to muscle. You know, especially with the very traditional like bodybuilder split, they separate things by muscle group, right? And I don't have an issue with doing like a pull day versus a push day or even upper or lower body day. But I do think that if we are never learning how to use those muscle fibers together, like, you know, if we're overhead pressing and twisting, like how can we use everything from the oblique into the pec, into the bicep, into the shoulder, into the back? Like how can we connect all of those muscle fibers, which at first glance all do different things, but they all work together to support your daily movement. I just think that doing a traditional split, it's like we aren't bodybuilders, so why are we training like them? Anyway, it's funny that this is where that topic ended up. She's back. I'm still talking with my mouth full, sorry. I do get comments about that sometimes, and I do apologize. That's a bad habit. I'm sorry about that. I will work on that. Anyway, I think it's funny where this part of the video landed, because the next thing we're doing in about 20 minutes is leaving for my workout class. I talked about it a lot. I take this class at a studio down the street, and it is based off of this method or certification, whatever, called functional patterns, which implements a lot of the things we're talking about. So we're gonna go do that next. And then we have a lot of errands to run, and I also have to go on a run. Long story short, my family runs a 5K every year now on Thanksgiving. It's for a charity fund. It's a long story, but anyway, I'm training for it because I wanna run it this year without hurting myself, and I am also trying to have a better mental relationship with running. So you can tell I'm thrilled about it. Anyway, of course, I'm doing a whole video about it, so just, you know, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. I'm not gonna talk with my mouth full, or at least if you can see it. Let's keep moving, we're gonna work out. We made it. Okay, it just started like pouring, which I'm annoyed about because I still have to go for a run. Let's do a little shopping haul. That'll be fun. All right, so first we went to TJ Maxx because we have a wedding on Thursday. Actually, Kevin's the best man. And I have been wearing the same dress at every single wedding over the past like year and a half. So I was like, I want something new. So I went to TJ Maxx, thought this was really cute. It's got this nice gold zipper. It's a little long, but I do have these like gold heels that I can wear with it. They're not super comfortable, which I'm not super happy about, but that's fine. I decided to treat myself to some new earrings too. Look at how pretty those are. So I just thought that would be really nice because, like, I don't know, the line of the dress is really long and then like these are really long and then they match the shoes and the zipper. I was going for something. Then we went to CVS because I needed more makeup, clear eyebrow gel, some more bronzer. I actually usually get Thrive Market mascara, but we like just placed an order last week and I forgot to order it. And I am like done on mascara, so I was like, I guess I'll get this stuff. So I just got, I don't know. And then I got some false lashes for the wedding. Oh, and then finally we went to Staples. Basically, I do this thing called DanceWorks, which is a company of dancers who are adults who just like want to dance for fun, and we basically put on a dance recital. But I'm doing the opening number from 6, like I'm choreographing it, and we're doing an acting exercise this week, so I had to like print out everyone's worksheet. I'm very extra. So let's go in the other room and we're going to talk about the final piece of the puzzle. When does training in all planes of motion just become too much? Okay, so the final piece of this puzzle is more just like food for thought because it's going to look different for everybody. Because remember, functional training is different for everybody. Everybody has different goals. Everybody is working towards something different. But when it comes to implementing different planes of motion, and then a lot of other things too, which we'll talk about in a second, it does get to a point where you overcomplicate something so much that you're kind of just doing what you're training for. And I think that we just have to remember that incorporating different planes of motion, different tempos, different angles, different modalities that you work with, it doesn't mean that you have to get like super creative. You shouldn't really be reinventing the wheel. There is a reason why simple is always better. So when I say incorporate, you know, different planes of motion, I mean, can you change up your reverse lunge and do some lateral lunges instead? If you are always used to working anti-rotation for the core, why don't we add in some rotation? If you're used to doing bilateral squats, can we get some split squats in there? Like, that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about when I mean like, you're still keeping it simple, but you're also incorporating these other movement patterns or other planes of motion that can help progress you and get you closer to your goals. And again, this isn't like a cut and dry, set in stone piece of advice, but I just want you to really use your rational brain and always remember that simple is better. So with that, we have to get on with the rest of our day, but I am going to end the video here because I have nothing else to talk about on the subject. If you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to leave them down below. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and I will see you all in the next one.